Alrighty guys, so we got some very interesting news today. So Niantic decided to leave Latias in raids until March 1st at 4 p.m., which just happens to be in a few hours as of recording. But the big thing is that they used that small little time to buffer out an extra day to make us wait for DIALGA. So of course, we were all like, duh, it'll logically happen. But, of course, you can never be too sure with Niantic because they're going to throw a curveball at you every once in a while. Today, they did finally announce at exactly 4 p.m. They literally made me wait as long as I possibly could. I had class. Like, I had to be in class by 5 on Thursdays, and I leave my house by 4, so I had no time. I did actually plan to get up and record this video preemptively just in case it happened, but then I got to thinking, well, if it doesn't happen, then I'm not going to have anything to show for today, so I ended up waiting. But let's go over what it says. So a new arrival to raids will test your strength this next month. The Steel and Dragon type temporal Pokemon DIALGA will join raid battles across the world from March 1st at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time until March 28th at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It says PST and then PDT. I don't know what that means. So with the ability to wrap time by slowing it down, speeding it up, and even stopping it altogether, Sinnoh Region Mythology says that time began moving when DIALGA was born. Be sure to assemble a team that includes fighting and ground-type Pokemon to take down this legendary Pokemon of Sinnoh before it overpowers your Pokemon with its special attacks. Don't miss this chance to catch this legendary Pokemon before it leaves for a new dimension. Stay safe and happy exploring. DIALGA is definitely my preferred choice when it comes between Palkia and DIALGA, just because DIALGA is such a stronger typed Pokemon, which let's take a look at that. So over on GoHub here, we're going to run over to the DIALGA, and we're going to see that it has a max CP of 4,038. It actually breaks that 4,000 mark. Just for reference, Palkia doesn't. It's close, but it quite doesn't hit that 4,000 mark. So with an attack stat of 275, defense of 211, and stamina of 205, that is nothing to shake a tail feather at. That is actually pretty strong. What do you actually need to know about DIALGA? Well, because of its typing being Steel and Dragon, it has a very interesting set of weaknesses and resistances. So it's only weak to two things, which is fighting and ground. It doesn't have any double weaknesses. It's just a single super effective damage from fighting and ground. That's it. But its resistances are very, very widespread. So we have grass being double resisted, poison being double resisted, and then bug, electric, flying, normal, psychic, rock, steel, and water. All being resisted. That's nuts. The fact that you actually have dragon being neutral damage here, because it's actually dragon typing and steel typing, dragon's only going to do neutral damage to this. So what does that mean? That means that in PvP, dragon type Pokemon are actually going to have to start trying to work around DIALGA. Now, let's go over here. So level 15. At level 15, the worst that you could get it is 1531. So even if they eventually put this into the research breakthrough, it's not even going to be below 1500. Whenever you go out tomorrow and you start catching yours, the weakest that you'll catch it is at 2217. So you're not even going to be able to get below 1500 by any means for the Great League. But for the Ultra League, though, that's where it starts to actually shine. So with being able to catch it at 2307, that's your perfect IVs for tomorrow for reference. 2307 is very respectable, and it can be powered up only a few times to actually hit that 2500 threshold, which just, I mean, in Ultra League, this thing is going to destroy. Really quickly, let's look at its moves. So it has Metal Claw, Dragon Breath, Draco Meteor, Iron Head, and Thunder. So Thunder is completely the outlier here. It's not really anything that's super great. I mean, up against its weaknesses, it doesn't really help it too much, being that fighting and ground are its weaknesses. It's not going to really cover anything that's going to be super effective to it. Ground's going to pretty much be immune to it. Ground's pretty much going to be resisted. And then fighting doesn't really have any issues with Thunder. So Thunder's not really going to do a whole lot for you. But Metal Claw and Draco Meteor, Dragon Breath and Draco Meteor, those are going to be super heavy hitting moves. Iron Head is definitely going to be a decent move in PvP whenever you are building out a team if you want to have a little bit extra coverage. I think Iron Head will be a good option for you. But truly, if you're going for Metal Claw on your fast move, which is going to be way cheaper to get, Metal Claw Draco Meteor actually may end up being just the ultimate move set for him. You may not even need Iron Head. But that's still up for testing and probably going to be up for debate until, we get to that point. So, that leads us into tomorrow. What should you actually put on your team? Well, being that he's weak to ground and fighting, Groudon ends up being a really good choice. Now, I looked into PokeBattler, and I generally tend to prefer their listings of good counters over anyone else, just because they have so much more information that you can kind of look through and kind of see what information it took to get to this point. GoHub it's very respectable, but we'll go over PokeBattler. We probably won't. It's all the same thing. I mean, they just rate them differently. So Groudon is going to be amazing. Mudshot and Earthquake are going to do super, super good tomorrow against your Dialga. And especially because Groudon is pure ground, he's actually going to be able to do better than, say, Rhyperior or Rhydon, because the rock typing along with ground is going to end up making them weak to steel type moves. So they may take some interesting damages there. But either way, Groudon is going to be one of the best attackers. If you have Groudons coming off of the most recent Hoenn event, Groudon's going to be a really good counter for you. Machamps are always in these freaking counter lists. They're just so good and so versatile. Anytime that they're in raids, I really do encourage people to go get them, because how often they're used in the raid scene is just insane. So, of course, Machamp is going to be a really, really strong contender. Here they have it down as Karate Chop. I'm pretty sure Karate Chop is Legacy at this point, but Counter Dynamic Punch will do just fine. It'll be great. Next we actually have Breloom, which Breloom is kind of in a weird position because Breloom's a really big glass cannon. Next we actually have Hariyama. Hariyama is going to be one of the bulkier fighting types that you'll have. He's comparable to Machamp. He's sometimes cheaper in certain areas depending on how many Makuhitas versus Machops you have. We personally, in my area, we have way more Makuhitas than we do Machops. So Hariyama is way cheaper to actually go out and get than it is to us to get a Machamp. But Hariyama is going to have so much more bulk to him than Machamp, but his attack suffers a lot because of that. So he's not going to be... He's going to have probably a similar TDO, if not a little higher of a TDO, but he's not going to be able to push as much damage. So let's actually look. So time to win is 783 for Hariyama, 754 for Machamp. So you can see that Machamp will actually push almost 30 full seconds more DPS. He'll actually win in 30 seconds faster if you have Machamp. Hariyama, on the other hand, is 30 seconds slower, but only has one more death. So therefore, you can kind of see that it weighs out that Hariyama has a lot more bulk. Next, we actually have Lucario, which Lucario is such an interesting pick here because with fighting and steel type, you're actually going to be able to resist a lot of Dialga's moves with the steel typings. So Lucario actually ends up doing really well in this matchup. If I could only have one, it'd be great so that I could use one. Am I right? Next we actually have Blaziken. Blaziken is just kind of like icing on the cake when it comes to fighting types. I mean, there are better ones out there, but he is definitely worth mentioning. His attack stat is high enough to really put out some DPS. He's just not quite as high as Machamp or Breloom. And his TDO, I don't think his TDO is even comparable to Hariyama. So definitely a budget option if you have one. But I would definitely prioritize Machamp's, and then Hariyama's and Breloom's are in there if you have the glass cannon. You're going to go through so many more revives if you use Breloom. Just kind of depends on what you want to do. Next, we actually have Rhyperior. Like I was talking earlier, Rhyperior is a wishy-washy kind of pick, only because he's going to take super effective damage to some of DIALGA's moves, which do end up hurting him. But with Mud Slap and Earthquake, he has nothing to laugh at in terms of DPS. Heracross, my boy, hanging in here, counter in close combat. I really want to TM mine just because fighting types are so much more prevalent than bug types. But I just don't want to spend the resources on it because it's literally just a novelty. There's nothing that I actually am going to actually use Heracross for other than special raid instances like this. Next we actually have Garchomp, which has Mudshot and Outrage as its best moveset. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Garchomp has its Outrage, Earthquake, and Fire Blast? Yeah, so here I don't necessarily agree with why they would have Outrage. I feel like Earthquake would do a lot more damage. But Garchomp isn't out at the moment. It's neither here nor there. Definitely think that Garchomp is going to be huge whenever he comes out, but of course we're at the mercy of Niantic for when they actually do that. Last but not least, we actually have our number 10 slot with Toxicroak. Toxicroak having Counter and Dynamic Punch, he's actually going to be able to do quite a bit. With the Poison typing, he doesn't really get any huge benefits off of it, but he just has a decent enough stat product to be good up against this, especially because he has those fighting type moves that of course get stabbed because of his typing. Next, let's talk about a few maybe more budget options. So we just came off of Swine Up Community Day. Mamoswine is going to be good. If you didn't, unfortunately, if you did not get Powder Snow and Avalanche on all of your evolutions like some of us, I didn't. I don't know why I said it that way. I didn't get Powder Snow Avalanche on half of mine at least. Cacturne, really awkward Pokemon, but definitely more of a budget option if you have them. Heatran actually does really good, but I think Heatran's on this list literally because of his resistance to steel. He shouldn't actually be like super good. He doesn't push any super effective damage or anything like that. Primate make an appearance. Then we have Hitmonlee. Hitmonchan should be in here somewhere. Ursaring, Entei, Palkia actually makes an appearance. Now we're starting to get into more of our just obscure counters that always end up being in a list because of their stats, not necessarily because how good they are against certain Pokemon. I didn't finish Gen 4. I think it's important for people to understand that I didn't finish Gen 4. I didn't play Gen 5. I played Gen 6, but very little, and I didn't play Gen 7 at all. I do plan on trying to play Gen 7, but we'll see how that goes because of time constraints. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to do that. So, I never played through Gen 4 long enough to get to Dialga, but I definitely like Dialga more than I like Palkia, just based on the typings alone. He's so much more of a more interesting Pokemon. That is actually going to be it for today, guys. I really hope that you guys are excited for Dialga. I hope that you guys are a little bit more prepared for your counters tomorrow. The plan for us is that we are going to try to snag some shiny Latias tomorrow before they disappear at 4 p.m. And then we will turn around and we will immediately start busting out these Dialga raids. I hope that you guys are in a similar situation. Hopefully you already have your shiny Latias. If you don't, if you're in the same boat as myself, try to get out there tomorrow and get you some because they're going to be leaving for a little while. And they probably won't come back until they end up in the boxes later this year. I could see them doing those in the boxes, but either way. So, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like to like videos, make sure you do that. If you don't, you can be that guy. Otherwise, let me know what I have to say down in the comments below. And until tomorrow, I will catch you guys then. By the way, I am going to do this whole like deep dive thing on PvP Pokemon. We're just going to start that on Monday, okay? Okay, see you guys then.